Jersey City, arrive at Liberty National, and you are greeted by a glass-encased clubhouse that looks like a museum, a golf course meticulously sculpted on a delicate piece of land, and a view of Lower Manhattan that is out of a Woody Allen movie. Intimidated? For sure. Double bogey on number 1? Highly likely. Those admittedly are not the best thoughts to have as one prepares to play a world-class golf course. A few moments later I meet Dan Fireman, the club's co-founder, along with his father, Paul, who spent more than $250 million to build the course on what was a toxic dumping ground. One of my first questions is how the PGA Tour players keep from being overwhelmed by the views and the Statue of Liberty peeking over your shoulder on nearly every shot. They look around in awe, he says. I think they are equally distracted by the views as they are the golf course. Great. Let's go with a double bogey on number 2 as well. Liberty National is hosting the President's Cup starting Thursday. But today it is open to Fireman, Liberty National Golf Pro Mark Diamond, my colleague David Meeks and me. Before teeing off, we ask Fireman for any advice. If you can play the golf course as it's meant to be played and not the way you think it should be played, you can actually have a very good experience, he says. You can score well. And if I could write like Hemingway, this story would be a lot better. The course plays at more than 7,300 yards for the pros, including when the Barclays was held here in 2009 and 2013. Thankfully, we're playing from about 6,200 yards. As we prepare to tee off, my focus shifts from the view to the grandstands being set up in preparation for the President's Cup. Of course, my opening drive goes left and clanks off a metal bar and rests behind the seating. Fortunately, one of our caddies, Mike Collins, reminds me that I get a free drop. Mike, this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Before you know it, I'm on the green and sending in a 10-foot putt for par. What was I worried about? However, no's, 2 and 3 end in triple bogeys, including my first of many adventures in the knee-high fescue. But more on that later. Number 4 is a par 3 over water. The pros will play it at 193 yards, but since we're at 153 yards, I land one within 20 feet of the hole. I carefully measure the putt, ponder the slight ridge to the right, the cut of the green, the gust of wind. Okay, not really. I look to Mike in desperation and ask where to aim, and just like that, a birdie putt drops. The rest of the day is filled with a few highlights but mostly humbling results and moments of awe. Number 5, this will be number 1 for the President's Cup. For me, it's nothing but trouble. As I consider my second shot from across a creek and under a tree, some 30 yards off the fairway, I'm reminded by my colleague David that this is not a spot where you find the pros. Shots you won't see at the President's Cup, he says. Number 9, with a creek running through the fairway, you are faced with a decision to go for it or keep it safe. At 474 yards for the pros, it will be one of the more compelling holes during the President's Cup. I make it over the creek, but into some of the longest fescue of the day. 3 lashes at the ball, and I'm still there and waving the white flag. Number 14, where the New York Harbor waters touch the golf course, this is as close as you get to the Statue of Liberty. For a moment you forget there is a short par 3 to play. I manage my last highlight of the day, making a 15-foot putt for par. A few holes later, the day is complete. Now it's time to make way for the pros. It will be a dream to have the greatest players in the world here, says Dan Fireman. I'm sure the feeling is mutual.